सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। दयाकरं दयाकारं दान्तं धर्मप्रवर्तकं प्रणमामि दयानन्दं मदाचार्यवरं परम्। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। So we were seeing this morning the two forms of upadana karanam. One is from the standpoint of the creation itself, from vyavaharika, this transactional reality, and another is viewing this creation from the paramarthika, from the Brahman consciousness standpoint. So the truth is only one. We are very clear about that. That is the main teaching of the Upanishads. That Isha Vasyam Idagum Sarvam, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. All of these mean the truth, that one consciousness is only one without a second. But we are confronted with multiplicity. When we are living in this jagat, in this world, we are confronted by many things which the mind feels is external to the I. So the whole jagat is I and idam, I and this, I and this. This is how we interact. The I interacts with everything which is not I. This is our experience of the world. And we find the whole world that we see, it is constantly changing. There are so many changes all the time. As we see it, it disappears. As you look at something, it is already changing. Swakale saktivat bhati, Shastra says, during the time it is present, it seems real. It seems that it is not going to change. But even as you watch it, it changes, because nature of the jagat is change. So we saw also that it reveals that our experiences of the world, experience only comes when my mind is active, my subtle body is active, subtle body reflects consciousness, and subtle body consciousness, borrowed consciousness, goes out through the senses, the gates of the senses, like Adi Shankara says in the Dakshinamurti Stotram, Nana Chidragatodharastita Dipa Prabhabhaswaram, like a pot with many holes in it, which has a light inside. The light streams out through the apertures, the holes, and it lights up whatever is in its vicinity. This is how the light of consciousness streams out through the sense organs, through the gateways of the senses, contacts the external world, brings in information, data, which the mind then interprets. The thoughts given the background, we know that given how I project my raga, dvesha onto the world, then I act on this data that the senses, the light brings back. But this is how consciousness works within the human being. I see there are many, many objects of the senses, as though they are multiple, as though they are varied. So that is where the rishis unfold. First of all, the Vedanta unfoldment is what we experience. This is the beauty of the teaching. It doesn't negate experience immediately. Vedanta tells you, okay, how do you account for these experiences? Gives you a model to understand your experience of this jagat, this varied jagat. And what is that it brings in? Brings in a thing. We cannot even call it an entity, because ultimately on inquiry it does not exist, but it brings in this Maya Shakti. This Maya is the upadhi, or the conditioning for Brahman. Consciousness cannot do anything. It is simply is. It lights up everything. But Maya is brought in to account for all that is happening here in the transactional reality, because we see things happening. So we saw in the morning that consciousness shining through the tamas aspect of Maya, when Maya is tamas predominant, gives rise to the 5 elements, to the gross elements, which then transmute to become names and forms and functions. So everything in this Jagat is just a transmutation of all the elements, right? We have the periodic table talking about the elements. Maybe there's some elements still to be discovered, but whole Jagat is a transmutation of elements and elementals, including this body, mind, sense complex, born from the tamas predominant consciousness reflecting through the tamas predominant Maya Upadhi. Then we saw also the consciousness reflecting to the sattva predominant upadhi of Maya gives rise to Ishvara, all knowledge, omniscient truth, which pervades all the elements and elementals in the form of various orders. So it is that Ishvara that holds, it's like the glue of the universe, I would say. Ishvara is the glue of the universe. Sometimes, in the Shastra, you hear this description of Ishvara as Sutra Atma. He is the string that holds the garlands of all the different names and forms together. He is the one string that holds the garland together. So this is how this universe, our experience, has been explained. So Jagat is now accounted for. Ishvara also we have understood as all knowledge, all powerful, because Brahman, as though conditioned by the sattva guna of Maya, becomes that Ishvara. And that Ishvara becomes now creator of this universe, because now we say all knowledge is intelligence, and everything here is put together. Every object you see is intelligently put together, and it is given. This whole Jagat is given. When it is given, there is a giver. So that giver becomes Jagat Karanam Brahma or Ishvara for us. So this is to account for what we experience. But then we have, Shastra brings in on another level, Vivarta Upadana Karanam, apparent material cause, which is Brahman. Apparent material cause is viewing from the standpoint of consciousness, which is one. What will Brahman, if he could talk, what would Brahman say? What would it say? Hey, where is creation? I'm only here. Where is such a thing as creation? I only exist. If it had a mouth, or it doesn't. Brahman doesn't speak, Brahman doesn't do anything. So how can this Jagat come about? So Vivarta Upadana, from Brahman's view, it is Vivarta, it is apparent reality. It is not a real reality, it is apparent, dependently real, as though real. We saw as if the rope transforms to the snake, as if the movie screen transforms to the movie. Is it a real transformation? No, it is a projected reality. So the whole universe, Vivarta Upadana, means it is apparently material cause. It is not truly, because all that is there is consciousness. It cannot change. It cannot do anything. It lights up all the changes. So in the presence of consciousness, we see the trees now, the breeze flowing through the trees. We see all the clouds passing by. We see the sun setting, all the changes, day and night, the seasons, all happening on that one still, non-changing, ever-present truth, which is present at all three periods of time. Trikalepi yat tishtati iti satyam. So we saw this in the morning, that Vivarta Upadana Karanam is the other material cause that is brought in. From the viewpoint of Brahman, nothing is happening here. It is as though real. And we are living in this as though reality. How are we living in it? We are living in it as if it is absolute real. That is the whole problem. We take the as though reality to be absolutely real. When that erroneous perception happens, erroneous identification, then whatever is happening, I feel it is happening to me. All the changes taking place, even in the body, mind, sense level, where does it belong? Remember, it belongs to the elements and elementals. Even the mind is just, the mind stuff is considered jadam. It is not, it is only lit up by consciousness, but it is also jadam, inert. All this inert thing, instrument of body, mind, senses, through which consciousness is shining, is taken to be absolutely real because of avidya. Because consciousness, how does consciousness manifest through me? We have seen through the causal body, which is avidya, ignorance. Consciousness manifests through ignorance. So when one discovers that the karana shariram actually is also a dependent reality, that it is not absolutely real, then what happens? Then whole of life is taken as a play, it is taken as a game, it is not taken to be absolutely real. So the problems, everything may still exist, but I am untouched. That is the whole key here. With Vedānta knowledge, I am untouched, unaffected, while I am playing the role in this game drama of Jagat. So this is what we saw this morning. And this is the method of unfoldment. Whole world, Swamiji used to say, it is nothing but word and meaning. Word and meaning. You have a word for an object. I will use my favorite object, chili. You have a word. I have a word for the object, chili. What happens? The chili vritti goes out. It takes on the form of that object, brings it back. Word and meaning. Everything in this world is only word and meaning. words and meanings for the words. Think about it. It is something to meditate on. These words and meanings, do they have any substance? No, they resolve into consciousness. Every word and meaning resolves only into consciousness. So here, Nama Rupa, we say the names and forms, which are words and meanings. The form is the meaning, the name is the word. The form is the meaning, the name is the word. The whole Jagat now is only words and meanings. Words and meanings. The universe, the Jagat, the world, minus names and forms, word and meaning. What is there? Only consciousness. Minus names and forms, all that exists is consciousness, because it is independent reality. You can take away the whole Jagat, but consciousness cannot be taken away. It gives rise to the Jagat. The movie can have an end, like Pralaya. You see those, at the end of the movie, the end, and they will have the dramatic music, the end. But movie screen never has an end. Movie screen still exists. It is like that. Even when this Jagat, one point or other, it will go into avyakta, unmanifest condition. It will go into unmanifest condition, not destroyed. We have to be very careful. Nothing is ever destroyed. It is only manifest, unmanifest. Manifest, unmanifest. Now we are in manifest condition. But sometime it can go into unmanifest. That is when a new cycle of creation starts. Then suddenly another manifest universe comes. Why does it come? We have seen it is the gunas, when they are not in equilibrium, when the jivas are clamoring for the karma phalam, they want to work out, they still have desires. Remember, when the universe goes into unmanifest, you don't get destroyed. Your karmas don't get destroyed. You are still in potential form. So when you go into unmanifest, what do you go to unmanifest with? All the desires that you didn't fulfill in your lifetimes. Can you imagine how many desires we didn't fulfill in all the lifetimes? Even in this life, there are so many desires we have not been able to fulfill. Imagine, we suddenly, poof, we're gone in a moment in this life. We still got those desires. But we go into unmanifest condition with the desires. And sometimes the desires, even in unmanifest, Shastra says they become a pressure. Manifest, they're a pressure. Imagine, in unmanifest is like pressure cooker. All the desires are put in the pressure cooker, all the jivas put together, all the karna sharirams. Then what happens? The pressure cooker blows. The pressure cooker of desires cannot take it anymore, and Ishvara creates this Jagat because of desire fulfillment. The jivas have a playground. We saw the little children, he says, go out and play, enjoy the world, fulfill your desires. That is what the Jagat is created for. This is the Shastra saying. So now we understand this whole Jagat, universe, is what we call Mithya. Mithya is an ontological word. It is a word to show my understanding of reality. Ontological means, what is my understanding of reality? So Mithya means this world, my understanding is that it is not totally real. It is not totally real because it doesn't last in 3 periods of time. At the same time, can I say it is totally unreal? I cannot say it's totally unreal because I eat the chili. I see the sky. I see the trees. I feel the objects. I cannot see it's totally unreal. So Mithya is a word given for an in-between reality called anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya, sat asadbhyam anirvachaniya means it is not neither totally real nor is it totally unreal. It is in between reality. It is as though real. So this is Mithya, and now he goes on to explaining more now what the jiva is, what the individual is. The next 45th verse he says, Yada malina sat sattvam tam natva Shri Bharati Tirtha Vidyaranya Munishwaro Adhimahe Pañcadaśīm Kaivalyapada Siddhaye Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambujanmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Graseka Karmane Yada Malina Sattvantam Kama Karmadi Dushitam Adatte Tatparam Brahma Tvam padena tadochyate Whole verse. Yada malina sattvantam kama karma didushitam adatte tatparam brahma Tvam padena tadochyate. So, Tat Param Brahma, that highest truth, highest consciousness, Adatte assumes the Upadhi where Sattva is, Maya is impure. Okay, it is impure meaning it is Rajas predominant. Here, Malina Sattvam Tam Kama Karma Didushitam. It is not fully pure. It is impure. Impure manifesting through impure Upadhi. And why is it impure? Because it is tainted by desire and activity. So that Upadhi which is tainted by or colored by desire and activity is what is designated by Tvam, you. We are all tainted by desire and activity. That is called impure Upadhi. Because again, impure because the Upadhi limits as though the Purnatvam or the completeness and fullness of the true self, of the real nature of you. So the Upadhi as though limits because desire is born for becoming something you feel you are not. That is why desire is born in the head. You feel you are not something, you're not, there's something lacking. Desire always because there is some lack or there is some feeling of, if I have that, I'll feel better. If I do that, I'll feel good. If I achieve that, I'll feel very, very happy. So desires are always for fullness. And he says here, it is the Vachyartha, we saw this Mukhyartha, the immediate meaning of the word Tvam, the Jiva. What is the immediate meaning of the word Tvam, the Jiva? He says this is it. The Jiva is impure meaning the Upadhi, the body, mind, sense complex, which limits the Jiva is impure. And this is how the Jiva comes into the existence. We saw this, the impure means this white pure crystal of Atma. What happens? This tamas, black of tamas colors it. So it looks as though, it is not really impure. It as though colors. And if you hold another color next to it, it as though colors. And even if it as though colors, the individual takes it what? I'm really colored. That's the problem. Individual takes it as I'm red, I'm black. All of the colors of the body, mind, sense complex, the individual, I thought, claims, oh my God, look at me. Looking at the face in the mirror. Today I looked at my face. Oh, face is so puffy. I thought, what has happened to my face? Then I said, impure upadhi. I don't take the attributes of the cheeks for the eye. We lump everything on the eye. We say impure meaning all the attributes of the body, mind, senses are lumped on the eye. That I thought. And what happens when that happens? Then I am always changing according to this impure upadhi. I'm always changing with it. If it is gaining weight, what do I say? Oh my God, I am gaining weight. Is it true? Is I thought gaining weight? If you look at it, when you say I am gaining weight, I thought, does it really gain weight? It does not. When you say I am beautiful, is I thought beautiful? No. It is when the I thought is identified, we saw with the kosha, erroneously identified with the physical body, the I thinks it has the attributes of the body. So it claims the attributes of the body. When I say, when I identify with the mind as well, I have this desire, I am restless. When you say I am restless, where does restlessness belong? Restlessness is an object of your knowledge. I am restless means restlessness you can notice. I am notices the restlessness. Restlessness belongs to what? It belongs to the mind. Disturbance belongs to what? Belongs to the mind. Does it belong to I am? No, I am is always there, shining, never changing. I am. Then suddenly the thought comes, fat. There's a thought of fatness in the mind. Then what does I am do? It's I am fat. It goes straight to the thought, it clings to the thought, and then that is called identification. Another thought comes, disturbance thought. Then what happens? I am disturbed. I am clings to the thought, I am somehow attaches to the thought, and I am disturbed. That emotion of disturbance comes. So actually, what happens to us is just throughout the day, we're just bundle of emotions changing. And it's all due to that I am identification. If the I am learns to say, no, that belongs to the body. You have to know to differentiate I am the attributes of the upadhi from the attributes the attributeless. I am is attributeless, like this glass. It is pure and clear. Attributeless means it has no attributes. There is no color here, nothing. No attributes. But if it is put near something, then it takes on the attributes of that. That is called upadhi. So I am constantly taking on the attributes of the thing close to me. Sometimes I even take the attributes of others. That is also, I take attributes of others or emotions. This is something we do emotionally with the mind as well. When somebody is angry or something, and they don't look at me, or they have their own issues, they're angry. What do? I am claims their anger because what have I done? What have I done to make them angry? I always feel I have done something. Why should I feel I have done? I'm taking on their attributes. My attributes are hard enough to deal with. Then I take on other people's attributes as well. As an extra thing on I am. So that is why, emotionally also I get disturbed because I somehow, because of subjectivity, that's why we say, lessen the subjectivity first, become more objective. What belongs to that upadhi belongs to that upadhi. I don't need to take on somebody else's upadhi issues. I can be of help. I can be caring. I can be loving. But especially when I become more and more sensitive, this is what we had talked about one session, when we're more and more sensitive, we start to feel other people's energy and their thoughts, and we start claiming them as us. We put that on the I as well. When somebody is in a not so good mood, then immediately, it is claimed as, I have done something. Like the child always feels, what have I done to disturb the mother? What have I done to hurt? If the father has had a really terrible day at work, argued with his boss or something, comes back in a bad mood. Child immediately will feel, what? Oh, what have I done? Why is the father like this? Why is the father not smiling at me? Have I done something? That is taking on the attributes of the other upadhi onto ourselves. This is just by the way, we do this quite a lot, taking other people's upadhi. So here he's saying that this Brahma Chaitanyam, when it is associated with the Rajav Pradhana, the Rajas manifesting through Maya now becomes, it is called Malina Sattva Prakriti, which means it is colored, it is as though impure, sullied by Rajas and Tamas. Sullied by Rajas and Tamas. And when it is sullied by Rajas and Tamas, there is no knowledge of its nature. The upadhi does not recognize its nature. And the nature is the same as the nature of Ishvara, and we saw Jagat. The oneness comes when you realize you cannot be affected by this upadhi in any way. We cannot be affected by any other upadhi. We cannot be affected by the Jagat at all. It is merely a wrong superimposition. There is a whole bhashyam written about this. Beautifully, Shankaracharya analyzes this bhashyam. It is called Adhyasa Bhashyam. How we superimpose our attributes onto other things and how other attributes get superimposed on us. This is very interesting. We confuse. So here, what happens is when I have this confusion, my fall is from, we say, from Swami to Dasa. Swami means master. From master to slave. I become a slave to myself. Now I am a slave in my life because I am governed by this raga, dvesha, this taint of rajas and tamas manifest as binding likes and desires which don't keep me still in life, that keep me wanting to become. That is what the tainting aspect of the individual is. So the fall now is a very beautiful, saying in Sanskrit of growth, how we should be with the world, with Ishvara. So, Deha Buddhya Dasoham. When my ahankara, Deha Buddhya, when it is invested in the body so much, I should take on the attitude of, I am a servant, I'm a sevaka, I serve the Jagat. Like Ramana Maharishi brings up in his Upadesha Saram, we saw that. Jagata Ishadi Yukta Sevanam, take to the service of the world. Because this body is for the service of others. In many, many verses of the Shastra, we see this idea. There's a beautiful Subhashitam, because I'm going to start a Sanskrit class. I always like to introduce these. These are like proverbs in Sanskrit, wise sayings in Sanskrit, Paropakaraya phalanti vrikshaha, Paropakaraya vahanti nadyaha, Paropakaraya duhanti gavaha, Paropakaraya idam shariram, Paropakaraya phalanti vrikshaha. The trees bear fruits for the sake of others, not for themselves. Trees give fruits for the sake of others. Rivers flow for the sake of others. The water of rivers is not used by the river itself. They flow, they give for the sake of others. Paropakaraya duhantigav. Cows give, that's why cows are worshipped. Cows give milk for the sake of others. They don't drink their own milk, right? They give the milk for the sake of others. Idam shariram. This body is also for the sake of others. Paropakaraya idam shariram. This form is also for the service of the Jagat. So dasoham is the attitude I have while I am in this body. I am here for service of others. jiva buddhya tvat amshakaha. When I'm identified with the individuality, I see myself as a part of the whole. I keep seeing individual and whole, total, always connected. On the physical level, I'm connected to the elements and elementals. On the psychological level, I'm connected to, we saw Hiranyagarbha, the psychological order that is Ishvara. I'm connected on all levels. So Tvat Amshakaha means I am a part of that Ishvara. And Atma Buddhya Soham, with the attitude that I am consciousness, Saha Aham. So the whole growth of the individual in self-discovery is growing from Dasoham to Tvatam Shakoham to Soham. Soham Saha Aham, I am He. Saha Aham, I am He. That is with the vision of consciousness, understanding the reality. I am He. Like some people do that as a breathing practice actually. It is a Mahavakya, we don't really use it for breathing, but some people do it. You can use it as a mantra. Soham, 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 Soham. It's a very short mantra, very beautiful though. You can use it, I am He, I am He. Saha Aham, Soham. So this is the growth of the individual, growing. When I'm in the body, I'm of service to the world. When I feel I'm an individual, I always connect myself with the total. I'm not separate from the total. I always keep my connection to Ishvara. We have seen in the form of orders, I resolve myself in the total. And when I'm doing nididhyasana, when I'm seeing my true nature, when I'm claiming my true nature, it is Soham, I am one with the Lord. So in the next verse, he talks about how this oneness is discovered. Again, just to reiterate how we do the vichara, he says, Tritayim apita muktva
Tritayim apita muktva
Paraspara virodhinim Akhandam Satchidanandam Mahavakyena Lakshyate. So now he says, leaving aside the seemingly contradictory three things, triad. See, English three comes from Sanskrit, tritayim. Three comes. In Sanskrit, three is three. So three come. So anyway, tritayim api means these three things, seemingly they're contradictory. Muktva parasparam virodhinim. They're seemingly contradictory. What are these three things? Jagat, Ishvara, Jiva. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. The individual, Ishvara, and the universe, the total. Seeming contradictory. He says, leaving aside the contradictory, that which contradicts, each one of them, the contradictory nature of the three, discover, he says, the partless consciousness. Akhandam means the partless. Akhandam is the unbroken. Unbroken, there is no parts in it, because we saw objects cannot limit that one. Akhandam means limitation. Limitation, something broken. Khandam. Akhanda, we have this in India, this practice, especially when I was in the previous ashram, of Akhanda Bhajan. Akhanda, they used to call it Akhanda Bhajans. So we used to have this singing non-stop, day and night for 24 hours. Nobody ate anything, there was nothing, it was Akhanda, unbroken, one bhajan after another. You can imagine 24 hours every year that is done, just pure. Here we have Akhanda Satchit Ananda. It is unbroken existence, consciousness, limitlessness. It cannot be broken by objects. Objects, as though you think Or if we are all pots, our rishis love the pots in space. If we are all different varying pots in space, do we ever break the total space? Can we ever destroy total space? No, the very total space, it is within the individual space. Where is space not? Even if we take space, it is unbroken. In the same way, this consciousness, he says, leave aside the contradictions between the individual, the universe, and Ishvara. Leave aside the contradictions between each other as well. That includes between each other. Because all of the contradictions only come when I think I'm only this much. Then I also think those people are only that much. That person is only that much. Look at the essence of each one. Cognitively, as you're seeing the person, recognize consciousness is the essence. That same consciousness is in you. That same consciousness is the intrinsic nature of everyone. It is unbroken, akhandam, and it's a form of existence, the form of isness. Chit is isness. Chit is amness. Isness, amness, manifesting through the mind is chit, jnanam, and anandam. It is limitlessness. And when one is limitless, one is totally happy. So limitlessness, when we say, equals Paramananda. We have seen that. It is Anantam, it is Paramananda, the highest joy. Limitless joy, limitless happiness, not dependent on vritti. We saw also at the beginning of the text of this chapter, there is a happiness which is dependent, it's a changing. Anandamaya Kosha happiness, always dependent on the state of mind, the thoughts, varying thoughts. Here, it is a limitless happiness, independent of the mind. This is what we have to discover, the happiness, the true nature, which is independent of the mind. When I say independent of the mind, then it has to be changeless. Because if it is dependent on the mind, it is always going to be changing. Because the mind is dependent in turn on objects. So this is how I become dependent on the world. That is called dependent happiness. But if I understand my true nature, discover that self to be limitless ananda, then whatever happens externally, let it happen. It can't affect my joy. It cannot. When Krishna says, when the well is full, like a wise person, apuryamanam achalaf pratishtam, when the well is full, when the reservoir or water body is already full, how can taking away a glass of water affect it? How can adding a glass of water affect it? It is already full. It is flowing with water. It doesn't need extra water, or it doesn't feel lessened if you take away water from it. So this is, Krishna's idea that he brings in as like a body of water which is ever full. Minus anything from it, remains full. Add anything to it, it still remains full. That means unchanging happiness. That is our birthright. The discovery, if we discover that and leave the Jagat, I can happily say, Tata, I'm fulfilled. Bye to everybody. My whole life journey has reached the culmination, what we call moksha. So with that, we'll see more tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.